Whenever Velotric updates one of their popular bikes or rolls out a new model, I am definitely keen to see what the team has come up with. And after several years of solid entrance into the e-bike market, this might just be one of the company's best offerings yet. Hey everyone, Micah here with Electrek, and today we're reviewing the new Velotric Nomad 2. This e-bike was just released and it has a bunch of new features and upgrades. Come along with us while we check it out. Alright, first impressions, this thing has some serious pep. Velotric went with a 750 watt rear hub motor. There's not a lot of information yet on the peak power, but it's probably up in the 12 to 1400 watt range based on how much pep this thing has. It's also got 90 newton meters of torque. That's enough grunt to handle some serious hills, sand, off-roading, or whatever else you throw at it. Speaking of speed, it tops out at 28 miles per hour on pedal assist, though the throttle is capped at 20 miles per hour. Now let's talk range, because Velotric is claiming up to 65 miles on a single charge. That's a bit optimistic to say the least. Yeah, it's possible on level 1 pedal assist, but in real world riding where you're actually using the throttle and not just babying it in the lowest pedal assist mode, you're probably looking at something closer to 40 miles. Still, that's pretty solid for a 705 watt-hour battery. Speaking of which, that is a UL certified battery, which is always nice to see in an industry often flooded with cheap battery packs from lesser known or lesser quality brands. Having the peace of mind of UL certification, not just on the battery but the whole bike, is definitely a nice value-added feature. One of the things I really like here on the Nomad 2 is that Velotric lets you choose between cadence and torque sensing. If you want a smoother, more natural pedaling experience, go with the torque sensing option. If you want to just ghost pedal and let the motor do the work, cadence sensing is there for you too. And switching between the two is easy in the settings. Of course, you're going to need to use one of those two on pedal assist if you want to get that 28 mile per hour class 3 speed, since it does come programmed to 20 miles per hour out of the box, which is possible on throttle only. You can use the throttle if you want, but you're limited to 20 miles per hour. You gotta use the pedal assist to go faster. Handling wise, the Nomad 2 feels stable, which is good for such a big fat tire bike like this. The frame geometry is dialed in nicely, and you can tell they thought about how to make this thing not feel like a boat at high speeds. The 26-inch by 4-inch fat tires grip well, and the front suspension fork helps smooth out the ride. Even better than that hydraulic front suspension though is the suspension seat post. Now let's be honest, there's no real substitute for rear suspension. You can only get true rear suspension from a rear shock and swing arm, but this parallel linkage suspension seat post is much nicer than the cheap telescoping suspension seat posts that you often see on lower quality bikes, and it does go a lot of the way there in terms of making it feel like you've got rear suspension. It's not the same as the better handling you get from a real rear suspension frame, but you also don't get that saddle shoved up your rear either, and there's nothing more real than that. Alright, let's talk about braking now. We've got Tektro hydraulic disc brakes here with a 203mm rotor up front and a 180mm rotor in the back. That's a solid setup, and stopping power definitely feels strong. That's important on a heavy e-bike like this, since stopping 75 pounds of bike, plus however much the rider weighs, requires strong braking. The low maintenance benefit of hydraulic brakes can't be overstated either. In fact, speaking of low maintenance, or at least lower, the 8-speed Acera derailleur is a slight upgrade over the cheap Tourney or Altus derailleur that we commonly see on budget fat tire e-bikes. Yeah, it can still come out of tune, and it does require a few turns of a screwdriver every now and again, but it's a better piece of kit that will stay in tune for you longer. Now, one of the standout features of the Nomad 2 is the 2.4-inch color display. It's bright and easy to read, though you might get a bit overwhelmed by all of the buttons on the control pad. Don't worry though, you'll get used to it, and some of those are for the lighting and turn signals anyway. The bike also connects to Apple Find My, so if someone swipes your bike, you've got a decent chance of tracking it down before it disappears forever. Oh, and before we finish up the lighting section, I should note that in addition to the turn signals in the rear, the front headlight is also automatic light sensing, which is a nice touch. With that good lighting package, plus the rear rack and the fenders, this bike works just as well as a commuter to tackle rough city streets as it does off-roading on rough trails. So, final thoughts, The Velotric Nomad 2 is a solid all-terrain e-bike with a good mix of power, range, and features. It's not the cheapest fat tire bike out there at $1,999, but with the build quality, UL certified battery, and somewhat more premium features, it offers decent value for the price. You even get a pile of color options, 2 frame sizes, and a choice of step-through or step-over frame. If you're looking for a versatile e-bike that can handle everything from city streets to dirt trails, this one is definitely worth considering. If you're on a tight budget though, and you don't really need some of the features like the location tracking, suspension seat post, torque sensor versus cadence sensor selection, etc., then you can definitely find lower cost alternatives out there. Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that review of the new Velotric Nomad 2. If you did, why don't you give this video a thumbs up? And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future electric vehicle videos. We'll see you here next time.